And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Solaris, we have our South Korean Terran player representing Team Liquid. It's the Red Terran. It is Cure. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Chinese Terran player representing CranKy Gaming. It is Oliveira. Here we go. Technically still our current reigning world champion. I think we were discussing that, oh, hello, Mr. SCV. Hello, Mr. Second SCV. As we are popping things off in this TvT in Game 1 with a proxy 2-racks. Let's go. Cure, of course, no fear. Very common, especially amongst the Korean Terran players, to sprinkle in a proxy at some point in a TvT. And the 2-racks are upon us. I was just about to get into, what was I saying? Oh yeah, technically, Oliveira is going to be the longest reigning world champion in StarCraft history, if I'm not mistaken. Just because, for those that are unaware, IM Katowice this year, the most recent IM Katowice, was not the world championship. The StarCraft 2 World Championship has switched from IM Katowice to Gamers 8, to the event in Saudi Arabia. In July, like in a couple of months or halfway through the year. So technically, Oliveira is still the reigning world champion, has still not been dethroned, and it won't be until later on in a couple of months where we will have our world championship. So technically, yeah, because of that, Oliveira will have the longest reign. There you go. Meanwhile, I assumed that this was going to be a proxy 2-racks Reaper, but no, my apologies, we are going proxy Marauder. Let's go. Tech labs are on the way, concussive shell being researched, and marauders are upon us. Now we're going to be building them up. We're going to be massing a handful of marauders before going in, before revealing ourselves. Meanwhile, Oliveira, no SCV scout. No SCV scout, just now moving out with his Reaper. No, never mind. Going to be scouting these third base locations first and not moving out. So he has no idea that there's a proxy. Again, it's very common in TvT to keep your first Reaper back at home, because if your opponent opened up reactored Reaper, then you may lose your first Reaper and you may lose the game. Like, things are very much on a knife's edge in the early game. It was a little bit risky of Oliveira not to go for an SCV scout, also becoming more common in TvT. And here comes Cure. CC, not done. It's going to be delayed. SCV is focused down, and we're going for the CC. Okay, boys are being pulled. We do focus on the Reaper. Reaper does fall. Marine taking a lot of hits as well. Reactor is on the way. GG gets called. There's nothing else here, only a single Marine. And just like that, Cure takes game number 1. GG. Oliveira just unfortunately not scouting with his SCV, not being aware of what of course was happening across the map, and unfortunately as well, he was going for a reactor. He was going for a reactor on that Rax, and he had already lost that first Reaper, so he had no DPS. He had 1 Marine at half HP. That was his army. 1 Marine. That's all he had. And that's all she wrote, as that is game 1 in the books. Cure does take a 1-0 lead. We're getting into game number 2. Let's go. Let's go. Again, an unfortunate game there for Oliveira. Just woefully, or again, just wasn't aware of what was going on, did take a bit of a risk. We may see Oliveira SCV scout here in this game, or, you know, what are the chances that Cure goes for a proxy 2 games in a row? Nah, you'll be fine. Copium. We'll see. As we're leading into hard lead. As spawning in the bottom right hand corner of hard lead, we have our South Korean Terran player, the Red Terran representing Team Liquid, leading the series 1-0. It is Cure. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Chinese Terran player representing CranKy Gaming. It is Oliveira. Here we go. So we'll keep our eyes on Oliveira. I'm curious if he's going to go for a Rax Expand again, or if he goes for a double gas opener instead. Again, that will also dictate like his mindset coming into this, how safe, how greedy, how aggressive he wants to be instead. And this time, Cure will keep his SCVs at home. SCVs will stay back at home. He's not going for a proxy. Not this time. He's content with his first win. can tend to get into a longer game. Meanwhile, it is double gas. So double gas opener out of Oliveira, double gas out of Cure. Which means we're going for a Rax into Factory. We're going to be delaying the CC on the low ground and prioritizing, again, a more aggressive or even quote-unquote safe opener. Again, this is ideal against something like a Proxy 2 Rax opener, as you will be prioritizing your factory production, your Hellion, your Cyclone. You will have more to defend or to work with in general, as our Reapers are on the way. We'll be opening up Reaper, into Factory, into CC, as opposed to the Rax Expand that Oliveira had in the last game. So for the time being, both players are mirroring each other, and as they do mirror each other, are we going to be entering the Cyclone phase of TvT again, opening up 10 to 12 Cyclones. I wouldn't say 10 Cyclones, has become quite the norm, quite the meta in TvT in this matchup. As I say that, we saw that kind of fall by the wayside at IEM. We saw that significantly less than normal at IEM Katowice. It's very possible the players have kind of, decided to drift away from that. As Cure does get across him, does get a kill on the SCV. Clutch moves there out of Cure, does delay the command center, forcing out another worker. Oof. Does get a little bit too greedy, tries to get a second SCV, but will pay the price for it. Good defense there out of Oliveira. We'll get a CC back up and running. And behind this, we're getting into our first Cyclones. First Cyclones on the way, Starport on production behind this. Opening up double Cyclone into a medevac is quite common in TvT as well. Speaking of, there's that second Cyclone. We should be going towards a Cyclone drop here from Cure. Meanwhile, Oliveira going for a tech lab, going for what looks to be either a fast tank or an add-on swap, and Cure does get in with the second Reaper, does confirm, will even delay the Starport. Oh, tries to. Does misclick, does attack the factory for a moment by accident. And gets another SCV. Will barely delay that Starport as well. 2 SCVs, not too bad. Gets a full scout, does confirm the tank production. And back at home, we are working towards that drop play. Okay, so Oliveira setting up for a tank drop. Meanwhile, Cure gonna hit a little bit faster with his Cyclone drop instead. And continuing with Cyclone production. We'll see how this build, or how these builds do compare. I'm curious. I am curious, as the first 2 Cyclones are gonna be poking here on the front door. They get a couple of lock-ons on. We do end up trading 1 for 1. Cyclones do go down for both players. Drop is moving out. Oliveira with no fear does barely avoid that Cyclone, but the drops, they will go by each other. They do spot each other here in the center of the map. Cure, doesn't respond. Oliveira did for a moment. Cure turning back around. Oliveira does commit. Gets the tank across the map. We'll siege up as well. The boys are being pulled. SCVs are going down. Good juggling here out of Cure. He will defend. Oh, I spoke too soon here, as a handful of Marines do make it through. They do get into the mineral line, and 6 workers go down. 7. Good damage done here by Oliveira. Gets 7 workers. Once again, nice juggling here. We'll lose the medevac. Yeah, it's maybe a little bit too greedy, but regardless, did cripple the economy of Cure. And Oliveira does take a worker lead. Meanwhile, Cure isn't done. He's going for his own drop across the map. It is significantly later than he would have liked. It is a later drop. Oh, the Cyclone will go down to the SCVs. And so will the other as well. Bit of miscontrol out of Cure. He's distracted back at home, as another tank has arrived. A little bit wasteful there from Oliveira, but Cure will defend. Again, he is amassing Cyclones. This is a more traditional or more modern form of TvT, is massing Cyclones in the early game. He is able to defend, but again, Cure didn't deal as much damage as he wanted to. his Cyclone drop was lackluster. He's going to make up for it with a second Cyclone drop. He's going to be moving out once again. Meanwhile, Oliveira back at home, still building up his tanks. He's got one tank to defend the natural. Doesn't have a tank in the main. And Cure will get in. Yeah, boys are being pulled. SCVs are going down. 4 workers go down. Good damage done here by Cure. He's coming back in. Does come back in. Gets another SCV. But now we have a second tank covering the main. We can defend. And the third CC is about to finish. Meanwhile, Cure back at home. No third... Oh, sorry. Third CC already done here in the main base, making 3 SCVs at a time. Cure should be the first to land, but we'll see who's feeling adventurous enough. So we're just focusing on production. The game is going to be settling from here. As the game settles, Cure finds himself with a 10-worker lead. He is ahead economically. I mean, he's had the third TC done a lot faster for a lot longer. Is now on the way. But the advantage that Oliveira has is tanks. That's the big dynamic right now here, is that Cure has Mass Cyclone into Raven, of course. Doesn't have Disable, which is odd. Usually, Interference Matrix is researched for Cure. But he did skip it. So Liberator does get a couple of kills. But again, he's been focusing on Cyclone production. Oliveira has a massive tank lead as a result. Oh, we're getting even more SCVs. 7. We have 2 Liberators. One in the natural, one in the main base. And Cure, he is not mining. There's very limited mining here for Cure. He's pushing in, but alas, we are ready for him. We have a wall of tanks and no interference matrix. Otherwise, we could maybe push in. Jesus, 4 tanks covering the natural. More SCVs going down. Cure, still barely any mining. Not even mining at the third. Oh my god. I'm afraid to look, but yeah, the economy deep in blue here, deep in favor of Oliveira. At the same time, Cure going for a desperation move here in the main base, going for mass auto turrets, gets some damage done. Liberator still alive here in the natural. Economy still deeply in favor of Oliveira, even though Oliveira hasn't landed his third base, didn't matter. He was still ahead in economy, ahead in mining, and now we're pushing out. And again, we have a massive tank lead. We have 5 tanks. And these Ravens, they barely have energy. They can barely help. They can barely support. Yeah, we have to give up. We have to give it up. We cannot defend this third base. Cure, he knows it. He has nothing to defend. Oliveira, he rocks up, sees the lack of third. Is feeling pretty good about himself, but he can keep on pushing. And I don't know if he can be stopped. So have a Cyclone drop in the main, gets a couple of workers. Good last second split there from Oliveira. Ooh, and he's within range of the production. Yeah, Rax is going to be going down. Raxes will be falling, and we can drop into the main base. Oh, there is a tank. You have to be careful at the same time. Curie sneaks out a double drop. Gets him to the third base. SCVs are going down. A beautiful double drop here from Cure. Gets in, doesn't get the base. Ooh, and has to be careful to take a fight. Yeah, he's not going to be able to. He gets cleaned up. He cannot deal with the tanks across the map, and Oliveira ties up the series 1-1. GG. Let's go. GG, well played. Again, this is the downside if you open up Cyclone like this. Again, I do think it was a mistake that Cure didn't research Interference Matrix. So it's very common to open up Cyclone the way that Cure did, and to go into Raven and go into Interference Matrix. The power of this specifically is that even if your opponent has 2-3 tanks, because you have 3 Ravens, when you push towards the natural at the timing that Cure did, you can disable every single tank and you can break in anyway. You can bust in with your Cyclones. Now, to be fair, the game was very chaotic. The game was leading up to that point. It was very chaotic. A lot of damage was being done across the map on both sides. A lot of SCVs were dying. A lot of SCVs were falling. Remember, this was before the Liberators. Before the Liberators were going ham, that's when Cure pushed in. And he couldn't do anything. He had an army. He had all these Ravens. He could not do anything across the map because he didn't have the disable. And there were 4 tanks at the natural. And that's when, obviously, his Cyclones were across the map. They were out of position. The Liberators went ham, and that was like the game-winning move. The game-winning move of Oliveira wasn't necessarily his tanks, but his Liberators. They set himself up for success. Beautifully done. GG. GG, well played. We are tied up, and we're going to the ace match. Let's go. Let us go. Oliveira, he sees your Cyclone meta of TvT. He says, no, I refuse, but I refuse. I appreciate it. Not the first time we've seen this. It was Oliveira versus Clem, I want to say, we casted recently. And likewise, Clem was making Cyclones and Oliveira just refused to make them. Or refused to master them, I should say. I did lose against Clem, but that's by the by. And here we go, spawning in the bottom right hand corner of side Delta, we have our South Korean Terran player, the Red Terran representing Team Liquid, being forced into the ace match. Can he close it out? It is Cure. And spawning in the top left hand corner, we have his opponent, we have the Chinese Terran player, the blue Terran, tying up the series 1-1, that much closer here to take this series, forcing the ace match, representing CranKy Gaming. It is Oliveira. Here we go. Found ourselves in that ace match, and I'm curious what kind of opener we do decide to go for. Last game was double gas from both players. This time, Oliveira going for a Rax expand. Okay. Not just that, he's SCV scouting. Let's go. SV, for the first time, Oliveira going to be SCV scouting in the ace match, being very safe, very secure. As a result, Oliveira will have a slightly worse economy because Cure is not SCV scouting. He's not setting anything across the map, not really concerned with what his opponent is up to. Cure, just like Oliveira, is going for a Rax expand. Economic opener out of Cure. Economic opener out of Oliveira. Oliveira knows this. Cure doesn't. He's playing blindly, but he's, you know, reaping the rewards, and he's being more, or he just has a better income as a result. And this, getting into his Reaper. Getting into the rest of his build. And the game is going to be, or we're going to be having a pretty passive early game as a result, just because we're delaying our factories. Just because of the better economy that we have. A big reason why Rax expands are a little more commonplace on site Delta, for those that are curious, is because of the ramp. You have this is one of the few maps that has a ramp leading into the natural, so we do have a better defender's advantage. We can be greedier, we can be more economic, we can get away with a little bit more on site Delta. Likewise on Radisson Station and even Alcyone. Oh, Alcyone is a little bit different. Oh yeah, it's fine. We don't have to talk about it. Alcyone doesn't have a ramp into the natural, but has, or is quite a large map nonetheless. So we can see more economic openers. Behind this, we're getting into our 1-1-1. We have a reactor on the way here for Oliveira. Meanwhile, we're going for the add-on swap here from Cure. And Cyclone production has begun. Let's go. Making 2 Cyclones at a time. Oliveira refusing to go for the add-on swap. He's producing Marines, and he's sticking with Hellions here, at least to scout. Single Hellion to get across the map to get some scouting information. And once again, I imagine this fast tech lab is for fast tank production. Oh my god, as we are rushing into a 3rd TC, this has become more common. We casted a lot of TvTs yesterday at IEM. We casted Hero Marine versus Gumiho, and Spirit versus Hero Marine, and Spirit versus Gumiho. And we've been seeing a lot of players be quite cavalier here and rush into a third CC. Bold move out of Oliveira. We'll see if he can get away with it. Again, Oliveira's going to be the defender, Cure the aggressor. Cure, he's massing Cyclones again. Oliveira, he's being very greedy, but also getting into really fast tank production. So he will have a defensive position here with a wall of tanks, like 3 tanks set up, getting into a third base. Can he defend though? Can Oliveira survive and get away with this? Here comes Cure. Cure starting off with a double Cyclone drop into additional Cyclones, of course. Behind this, third CC. Third CC far later than that of Oliveira, but third CC nonetheless. Economic by Cure. Just not as greedy. And yeah, this time, Interference Matrix. Like, part of me, I'm pretty sure that it wasn't intentional that we didn't research this last game. I think it was a mistake. That we didn't have it in game 2. But now we have it on game 3. There you go, Psychos, they do get into the main base. 3 SCVs go down, good damage. Bearing in mind that Cure hasn't lost anything. So very nice drop here by Cure. Does confirm the tanks. We have 1 tank in the main, 1 tank in the natural, 3rd tank in production momentarily. Behind this, the rest of our rack setup here. Just a 3-1-1 setup by Oliveira. And here we go. Cure is pushing. This is hitting just in time with Interference Matrix. Does have 1 Raven. 2nd Raven's on the way. And here we go. Can Cure break Oliveira? He's looking for that tank. Up. Oh my god. And it looks like he will get it. Not quite. Doesn't commit. Doesn't like what he sees. Will retreat, waiting for the 2nd Raven. Ooh, we do have a 2nd tank on the low ground. 3rd tank is repositioning. So Oliveira, suddenly this natural base becoming that much more fortified. And Cure's backing up. Cure, he does retreat. Again, doesn't like what he sees. And as a result, these Cyclones aren't doing too much. And once again, Oliveira takes a massive tank lead. Or, like, in general, his army, the quality of his army is getting better and better. With a 4th tank on the way. Scans across the map. We can see Cure getting into his own tank production, but again, he's working on his 1st tank. His opponent has 4. 3rd CC being landed. That's the advantage that Cure has, is he does have map control. These Cyclones, they do delay the 3rd base until Oliveira can deal with the Cyclone problem and then expand. CC's being taken. Oliveira moves out. Has to be very careful with how he does engage. Yeah, the tank's slowly sieging forward. Cyclones are going to be forced away. And Oliveira can finally expand. Meanwhile, Cure has been happily mining, already fully saturated at his 3rd base. Thanks to those Cyclones. But again, as we enter the mid-game, looking at the unit count here, again, 5 tanks to 2. Now, this doesn't mean everything, bearing in mind that, sure, the tank count is really important in TvT, especially in the mid-game, but Ravens do add some complexity to this dynamic, right? We do have a Raven lead for Cure. Even if Oliveira is the first to siege, even if he catches out Cure, if we disable all the tanks, the tank count doesn't matter, right? So we still have that Raven advantage that Cure can leverage. As Oliveira is moving out. Double drop towards the main. Cyclones do get caught. 3 of them do head towards the 3rd base, so we have a tank in position. Oof. And the Cyclones are dealt with. The double drop still actually committing. We boost on into the main. Turrets going ham. But we do unload. And Oliveira, he doesn't turn around. And he's going to be losing his E-Bays. 1 E-Bay does fall. He's going to lose the 2nd. Oh, it's barely going to be saved. But 10 SCVs go down. A massive loss there for Oliveira. At the same time, he's pushing in. Massive anti-arm missile on both armies. Both armies covered in that dust. Back in the main base, Oliveira, he will clean this up. He will defend. But not without losses. There are the disables. Massive disables on every single tank. But it doesn't matter. Oliveira, he does hold. The disables, they run out. Oh. Again, that was the one advantage that Cure had, and maybe he wasted it. He disabled every tank, but he didn't kill any of them. Didn't kill any of the tanks, and now Oliveira can push forward. Yeah, again, that was maybe a bit premature. From here, Cure, he's ready for a Doom Drop. Ready in the main base. Reinforcements are on the way. Looks like we do catch a couple of SCVs. The base taking a lot of hits. Oliveira still maintains that tank lead. And Cure does have, I want to say, 2 more disables available. Maybe 1. Do you see Oliveira threaten to jump kill? Thank God. Does pull back. Thankfully. Does pull back in time. A couple of SCVs getting caught out. At the same time, Oliveira taking his 4th base on location. Cure going for a big counterattack, leaving his tanks exposed. Scan does reveal the lack of Marines. And do we drop in? We go Cure going for a massive backstab. A massive run by does catch a tank. Does catch a tank there. Oliveira cannot engage. And we do dive into the natural base. SCV is going to be going down. Oliveira, he's racing back home. That's going to be a kill on the CC. Oh my god. The target firing. We do punish this quite hard. Only 1 medevac does escape. But we get 17 SCVs. We kill a CC and we alleviate that pressure. Not without losing the base though. Oh my god. I wasn't fully aware, but Cure did lose his 3rd. That's pretty huge. Just like that, Cure stuck on 2 bases, just now taking a 3rd base. Meanwhile, Oliveira, technically up a base. Did lose the CC, but he killed one. Here we go, Cure is pushing. Ah, but he has no Marines! He lost all his Marines in the counterattack. Big anti-armor missile, but it doesn't matter. We chase down the Ravens, we chase everything down. Oliveira has a massive supply lead. He can keep on pushing. Tanks are sieged, but he doesn't care. He's barely breaking through. There's still 2 tanks behind this. 1 tank. And he does it. GG gets called. Oliveira breaks on through, breaks the 3rd base, and will take the series 2-1, eliminating Cure. GG. Oliveira refusing to make all those cyclones. Let's go. GG, well played. Again, a very different style from Oliveira. We have seen a couple of players try this out. Oliveira, we've seen Oliveira do it. We've seen Spirit do this as well. It's kind of an alternate play style here in the new meta where we have Cure, likewise Clem, Bjorn going for this mass cyclone style early on. On the flip side, we have this early tank production style where you have less map control. Obviously, you're stuck at home, you're building up tanks, but you do get a stronger mid game as a result. You do have that massive tank advantage. To be fair, we did see a couple of slip-ups from Cure. I do think that the mass disable that we saw was a bit of a mistake, just because, I say mistake, maybe he just misjudged the situation. I'm pretty sure in that moment, Cure intended to disable all the tanks and break that position and clean up all those tanks. And if he had done that, then he would have been ahead, 100%. He would have strictly been ahead. But he just didn't have enough on the ground. He couldn't follow up those disables and they just ran out. And Oliveira, he maintained his tank lead as a result and was able to just flex that throughout the entire game, essentially. Forcing Cure to counterattack, forcing Cure to avoid a big fight. And he was doing damage, sure, but was not enough. GG. Congratulations. Congratulations to Oliveira. He does advance on to the semifinals. Cure is eliminated. And we are here to find out who faces off against Oliveira in those semifinals.